The English FA and UEFA are killing their players, and no, this isn't a joke or me being hyperbolic just to get clicks on this video. I honestly believe that the modern day fixture congestion is killing the players, and they have every right to complain about these busy and jam-packed schedules. And today we'll be looking at the full Premier League schedule for those teams competing in all competitions across the country, being the Premier League, the FA Cup and the League Cup, and also across Europe as well, whether that be the UEFA Conference League, the Europa League or the Champions League. And we'll be looking at and analysing the effects that this has on the players in question to really determine whether the players are overworked or it's just a lazy excuse that managers and players use to justify poor performances. Firstly, let's take a look at Manchester City's schedule for the remainder of the 2024-25 season. And as you can see from a lot of these games, there's a maximum of only really like 4 games between each fixture, and obviously this schedule doesn't take in to account potential future cup ties in the League Cup, FA Cup and Champions League into account. And obviously some of you may point out that there are big gaps between games, like in October when City will play Fulham on the 5th and then they don't play again until they play Wolves on the 20th. Well, yes, technically this is a 15-day break from club football. This is again only due to an international break taking place where most of the top players in the squad will play at least 2 games in that 15-day period and also have to travel all across the world potentially. So just in club football alone, City will play 38 Premier League games and at least 8 Champions League games due to the new league fixture taking their total from 6 group games to 8 league games, which adds 2 more games to already a busy footballing calendar. And obviously if they win all of those league games and then win all of the knockout games and make it to the final, there's a maximum of 17 Champions League games to be played, a minimum of 1 League Cup game to be played, and obviously if they win all of those and go to the final, there's a maximum of 6, and the same goes for the FA Cup, a minimum of 1 and then a maximum of 6. So this means they will play at least 48 games with a potential of 63 games this season, which is insane. And again, that is literally just from club football. This doesn't take into consideration international games, AFCON qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, Nations League games. It doesn't take any of this into account. And this isn't just a one-off either, with fixtures getting more and more cramped ever since Project Restart in lockdown in 2020. With players like Rodri, obviously his shirt being in the background, shout out Rodri, best player in the world. He played 56 games in the 2022-23 treble winning season and a total of 4,478 minutes out of a total of 5,040 minutes, and 50 games in the following season with a total of 4,327 minutes out of a possible 4,500, which is absolutely ridiculous, and it clearly shows that there is an overload of football on these players being forced upon them by the busy schedule and obviously their importance to the team. Obviously the clubs aren't exempt from any blame here. Pep and City definitely do overplay Rodri and have a strong reliance on him, but at the same time the amount of games that he's played for City is absurd, and the amount of games he's played in total, it gets even more when you look at his Euros campaign, where he basically played every game bar 1 due to suspension in the Euros. Obviously was the player of the tournament at the Euros, and even he has come out and said himself that the level of football that he played in the 2022-23 season was not sustainable, and he couldn't keep doing that because it was not good for his health. Just for him to go and do the same the next season and obviously then play even more games in the summer. But luckily he's been given a bit of a break at the start of this season. I think only played 1 game in the international break as well, so he should come back relatively rested. But that's not the point. There is still, as you can see, an overload on the players, and obviously I've mostly focused on City here because that is again the team I support, and we are one of the teams most likely to play every game this season, and it just shows that there is an insane amount of pressure on these players to stay fit, to stay healthy, and to just keep playing football. But it's not just the football matches that they've got to focus on. Yes, they have a potential match every 4 days, but it's not like these players can just switch off after every match they play, because that's just not the case, unfortunately. And obviously, like I just said, football isn't just the players playing games on the weekend and then they go home and switch off from work until the next match day, because they also have to put in hours of training and match preparation before each game, which gives them even less time to rest and recover from the matches. And you can actually see this lack of rest taking its toll on certain players. A prime example, and the one that always sticks into my head, is Bernardo Silva in his post-match interview after scoring the winner against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final last season, after just 3 days earlier playing 120 minutes in a 4-3 loss on penalties to Real Madrid in the Champions League. And that game as a whole is a really good case study to show how modern football schedules impacts the players' health and fitness, because we were definitely the second best team in a lot of that match, and that was just due to our players looking very tired and sluggish throughout the match, because obviously they literally played 120 minutes of football just 3 days earlier, and they've still had to come and train to prepare for this match and then play this match. It just shows the overload of football. Like, it's not just a thing you look at on paper and be like, whoa, that's a lot of games. Like, it actually does have an effect on the players. And obviously, this isn't just a problem in England as well. It's not just England that have these issues. It happens all across Europe. And like I said earlier, sometimes the clubs are to blame for their players being overworked, with the main culprits, I believe, being Barcelona, with how often they overplay young players like Pedri and Yamal. With Pedri playing 52 matches and 3,529 minutes for Barcelona in the 2020-21 season at just 18 years of age. And playing so many games at a young age can lead to players burning out in their prime years, or even just before their prime years, and also increases the increases the chance of the player's physical health deteriorating. And I think this is one of the main worries that Arsenal fans have Arsenal fans that I've spoken to have about Bukayo Saka and Arteta's over-reliance on Bukayo, because he plays a lot of games. He plays a lot of games for Arsenal. He plays a lot of games for England. He's almost like the first name on the team sheet for his nation and his club, which is obviously a huge compliment to him, and he'll take that as a huge compliment, because it just shows how important he is to the international setup and the club setup. But at some point, you just have to rest these players, because Saka's going to get to the ages of like 25, 26, and the amount of game time he's played at such a young age over the last few seasons is really going to start and take its toll, and he's not going to be as fast as he once was. He's not going to be as sharp. He's not going to be able to do as much running. And you look at players like Rooney. I think if Rooney didn't play so much football at a young age at Everton and even after going to United, I think that he would have definitely been able to play a lot longer in his career and play at the top level anyway, and not have to do what he did at Everton, where he had to sit back into more of a 10 role and become a bit more of a solely a creator and play a bit of a slower game, because his legs just went because of how much football he played. Again, I think Theo Walcott is a prime example of this. And you even look at players like Reece James as well. Reece James and Rashford, two players that struggle with injuries quite a bit, but they're so determined to play football and play as much football as they can that they rush themselves back from injury, and it just causes it to go in an endless cycle. I think, again, I've mentioned Rashford in there, but I think Reece James is the main culprit of it. You look at James and he'll come back from injury and he'll just get injured straight away, and you do think to yourself, like, is there really any point in playing these games? Especially when he comes back from injury towards the end of a season where Chelsea aren't playing for anything. Like they did last season, and obviously he come back and he didn't necessarily get injured straight away, but he went and got himself suspended, meaning he missed the start of the season anyway. And now obviously he has picked up a bit of an injury, which has kept him out for a few extra games. But yeah, and again, a lot of people like to counter this argument with players playing too many games with the fact that, oh well, they're paid a lot of money to play football, so why are they complaining? Look how much money they get paid. Why are they complaining? They're on what, £300,000 a week. Why is he complaining about playing 3 matches a week? Like, I'd love to play 3 matches of football a week for 300 grand, but like, it doesn't really matter about how much money you're getting paid, because at the end of the day, yeah, let's say you've got a retail job, right, and you're not getting paid minimum wage. You're getting paid, I don't know, like, let's say like £16-17 an hour, right? You're at a bit of a inflated pay rate, right? Obviously minimum wage for an adult usually being around £11 to like £13 in that sort of area. So let's say you're playing at a slightly getting paid a slightly inflated rate at like £17 an hour, right? But you're working 60 hours a week, right? You're working 12-hour shifts every day or something like that. You're working a lot, right? But then when you go home, you also have to put the work in for your job at home as well, right? You can't just go home, spend time with your family, relax, because you know sometimes when you have worked a busy week, no, depending on, it doesn't really matter how many hours, like you've worked a busy week for your body, your mental stability, right? It's been a busy week for you. You just want to go home on your days off and not have to worry about anything else. Just relax, chill, take some time to recharge, and then you go back to your busy week and you feel a lot better. You feel a lot less drained. But now let's imagine you don't get those days off. Or if you do get the day off from full-on work, you still have to do something that relates to your job that takes its toll on your physical health and your mental health. Like, you wouldn't want to do it. Like, no matter how much you get paid, you wouldn't want to put your physical and mental health at risk at all. Like, you could offer me however much money for, well, within reason, right? You could offer me however much money you want, yeah? But I would never overwork myself, because like there's no point in that. What's the point in having all this money, yeah, all of this success and being able to buy anything you want if you're not going to have any fun and your life's just going to be miserable because you just spend every day tired, aching, miserable, you know, you just unmotivated to do anything because you're tired, you're sluggish, and you just feel awful. Like, what is the point? So, you know, yes, they get paid a lot of money, and a lot more money than a lot of us will see in our lifetime. But like, at the same time, they are humans as well. Like, they shouldn't like run themselves into the ground physically and mentally just because they're getting paid a lot of money, and they shouldn't complain about that. Like, you know, it is stupid at the end of the day, I think, to use that argument, because yes, there is an argument to say that footballers get paid a stupid amount of money and they probably shouldn't earn that much money, and there's also an argument to say that footballers play too much football and they're being overworked and it's not healthy, and they're two separate arguments, and I do not think they're linked in the slightest. But again, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the modern day football schedule, and if you think our players are being overworked, or if you just think that it is a lazy excuse. I do actually believe the players are being overworked, and I do honestly think that somebody could die as a result of this. Like, somebody could have a cardiac arrest or something like that and die, and it would be mainly to do, well, it could also be a freak accident, but at the same time I think it would be, you know, be heavily linked to the amount of football and how overworked these players are being, how overworked these players have been. But with all that being said, please do leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Like I said, you know, I do enjoy reading your guys' comments, whether they are logical and they are unlogical, because sometimes you guys say some crazy stuff down there. Does make me giggle, so, you know, don't be afraid to speak your mind, whether it be stupid and I'm going to criticize you, or it be, you know, well thought out and I might just politely disagree, or I might even agree, who knows. And, you know, again, like the video if you enjoyed. That really does help the channel out. Your engagement with the channel and my videos really does help. You know, it just feels good to know that people are enjoying the stuff that you're putting out there. And again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've recently hit 500 subscribers, and it means I will be bringing back the Man City watch along live streams when I get my weekends free off work. So if City are playing and I don't have work, it will be announced on the community tab or on my Twitter at Nathaniel Knows Ball on X, and it will be announced days in advance, so you know when you're going to get a watch along. And obviously you guys know I get quite animated when watching City, so, you know, I think it will be an enjoyable experience for you guys. You know, obviously watch, if this is the first video on you're watching, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel. You will not be disappointed. It might even further encourage you to subscribe. With all that being said, I've been Nathan. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces, chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like G-Take trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it, body come mad, come shake it, then get back to the basics, bro, done shut down cases, they belly dots to the